Hey, man, welcome to Dukes and Bell Behind the Curtain, where we preview the show today. As you can see, it's not Carl Dukes. He's taking Veterans Day off. We got our man, Abe Gordon. He'll be filling in for Carl today, 2 to 6. The brains of the operation, Day, not pictured as Orrin. He'll be pushing the buttons. Happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there. Whether you got a veteran in the family, you are a veteran. Thanks for your service. And for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, salute to you, like guys like my dad and Carl's dad as well. Hey, man, got back from Berlin. Boy, do they love us over, not the Falcons. They love American football and they love Americans over in Germany. I got a lot to tell you about today throughout the show. Specifically, we'll do that in Guy Talk today. We'll get into all the Falcons talk. Ran into a ton of Falcon fans on the flight home, Abe, from Frankfurt and Berlin. And it's funny, one guy, I'll start real quick before we mention the Hawks and our rest of our show. One guy's, we're in the hotel, we're in the airport terminal, and he keeps running over to me. He goes, hey, man. He goes, I don't see nothing from Adam Schefter about Raheem being fired. And I'm like, I know. He goes, Dable just got. I'm like, I know. I said, if I was Arthur Blank, there'd be 2 less people on that airplane coming home. But more on that today. First things first, give a shout out. I just watched some of it on DVR this morning. Nice gritty win, Dave, for the Atlanta Hawks as they were dead in the water. Then beat Krejci, starts popping threes.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was watching the start of this game live, and it's like they're down 12-2 immediately. And I tweeted this out. It's like the 4th time this year they're just immediately down 10 points. But this is just kind of their thing. They work their way into the game, and they hit their strides. The other thing, Mike, and I'll keep it short, it seems like it's a different guy every night. You look at the box score and who steps up. And it's been Kennard, it's been Rizachet, it's certainly been Jalen, Nikhil Alexander-Walker. And then last night, unexpectedly, it was Vit Krejci with 8 threes. A different guy every night, and they're back above 500.
And Day, whenever you beat the Lakers, no matter who's playing, it's always a big win for the Hawks. So, yes, we'll get that minority that'll be out there that'll say, they're better without Trey. Nah, easy now. Maybe in the regular season. In the playoffs, you need a guy that can score. You need a guy that can do the things that Trey does. But we do at least have some guys stepping up. And it was kind of cool. They asked Kristaps Porzingis, how did it happen? He goes, how'd you win this game? He goes, Vit Krejci. So, yeah, Vit was a big answer last night. But, hey, 2 wins on a West Coast swing, and Sacramento's coming up next.
Yeah, man, and it's good to, most importantly, good to see them be 3-1 right now in games without Trey. So, hopefully they can keep it going.
Yeah, man, we'll talk some Hawks. We'll also obviously spend a lot of time on the Falcons today, get my reaction. And it's funny because where I was sitting, the best thing about going to Germany or going to these international games, this was my second one, Abe. I went to the first one in 2007, Dolphins-Giants at Wembley. The fans really know their stuff. There was a married couple from outside Berlin, and she's like, why are they not using their running backs? They're not using their running backs. Bijan needs ball. I mean, like, you sound like a Falcon fan. I ran into a Scottish guy. I put the photos up. There's a bunch of pictures I posted at Mike Bell, ATL. Abe, there's a Scottish guy named Steven. My wife has one of those clear bags that you use to get in the stadium. It has a 92.9 sticker on it. So he goes, 92.9? You're not Mike Bell, are you? We got a guy. I texted Carl right before he was going to go on because it was like 5:30 East Coast time because Carl was about to go on nationally on Sunday. I go, we got a guy who listens outside Glasgow, Scotland on the Odyssey app. Wow. And he goes, I agree with everything you say. That Zac Robinson is not helping Michael Penix Jr. So, I mean, the people you meet, Abe, and to hear the level of engagement from Europeans is pretty bananas. But I do think they were on point. Zach, did you see the video? I don't know for you guys when you were watching this. We were sitting it would be like almost like club level if it was Mercedes. So I'm looking down on the bench. Did you see when Michael Penix Jr. comes out and he's screaming at Zac Robinson about getting the play in? That happens, and we've seen that delay of game. I know that Michael's got to work on some things, but Abe, I don't think he's got the right coach to help him get over the finish line.
No, and it all starts there, and then it devolves into Penix is also not doing that well on the field, making reads, making the throws, being accurate, doing the things he can control. That's what we need. If it's going to be a mess outside of Penix, which is understandable, and that needs to change, and we can have that conversation, we at least need Penix to control what he can control and do better in those facets. But yeah, look, to simplify it, if they're not going to make a change at the top, and it feels like, I don't know, maybe you feel differently at the end of the year, it feels like it's not going to. We saw this on the other side of the ball. Raheem made a call. fired your past defensive coordinator, brought in a guy now in Jeff Ulbrich, who most everyone says is much better, doing a great job with that unit. And I think you have to make the same decision on that side of the ball. If you're not going to fire Raheem, you have to at least make a change at the coordinator position. Bring in someone, I don't know, maybe a recently fired head coach that has run an offense before and can improve. Because and we were talking just before, you said it. There's too much. It's too much good on this team.
A lot of talent.
You have a guy that everyone says is the league's best running back. You got another player in Jonathan Taylor giving him dap after the game and said, you're carrying the torch. It'd be nice if he carries the torch when he's not outplayed by a mile by all of these guys, but that's a different story. But I mean, you got a receiver who's as good as anyone in the game, in my opinion, in Drake London. And, you got some other pieces. It's not good enough. And the coaching's holding it down. The players are holding it down. Mike, it's just all around a mess.
Day, I was saying before the show, it's the pre-show. We don't put that on video. This is our behind the curtain. Carl's off today. Abe's in at 2. Dave Archer, by the way. We'll ask Dave about the Michael Penix stuff, the footwork, the way the slow motion, Day, when he turns his back to the line, it just looks so disjointed. I talked about the communication. He was yelling at Kyle Pitts on the sideline. I don't know if that was a missed block assignment or if that was the drop. Drake London yelling at the coaching staff. If you didn't see that, I saw it on whether he didn't like the play. Now, he got blown up on a block, so I don't know if he was just frustrated. But just back to Abe's point on defense, yes, I get it. You can't say great defense when Jonathan Taylor sets the franchise record against us. But missed tackles. If they get him on the ground on that final run, he doesn't break the home run ball. Then, but they miss tackles. I think Cade Nellis said, we quit on it. They thought the tackle had been made. But let's get to Ulbrich specifically in coaching. Day, it's 3rd and 20 because you get the big sack. And then Ulbrich, he rushed 5. Now he rushes 4. And now everybody's got their back to him. And, of course, what do you see? Daniel Jones converts. So in moments where you use your aggressiveness and then you get passive. So to Abe's point, gets back to coaching.
Yeah, and unfortunately, guys, Mark Zeno did have a chance yesterday to step out of the studio and ask Raheem on the presser if there was going to be any changes coming down in regards to coaching personnel, and Ross said no. So I don't know, how this gets fixed if they're not going to make any changes, unless, Mike, going back to what we talked about a few weeks ago, bring in someone, bring in a consultant that can sit with Zac Robinson and say, hey, man, here are some things you could be doing.
Well, real quick. I mean, I don't want to see anybody lose their job unless you're not doing your job. If you're going to set that kind of tone by firing Ike Hilliard for whatever went down, and you had a humiliating loss, and to me, you're scapegoating a coach, so you got a skin on the wall for Arthur Blank, which is, to me, weak sauce. And I asked Rob about it, and he wouldn't give me any kind of equivocated on it and said they had to move on, and it's a better option. Then how does Marquise Williams, our special teams coach, how does he have a job? We're one of the worst teams. When you needed a big play, you just set Daniel Jones up in company with great position because you allow the big kick returns time after time. Abe, explain to me how his job security is warranted at this stage.
There's no explanation, Mike. I can't sit here and pretend to make one up because I don't have one. It started with the kicking situation earlier in the year, right? We couldn't field a knuckleball kick a couple of weeks after that. You give up terrible coverage, your punter, and look, that's an individual effort, but you needed a big punt, and he doesn't come up with one in the moment. There's no explanation. I cannot understand if they're going to keep Raheem. At the end of the day, you cannot keep the coordinators. For me, the best case scenario right now is, and like this season's chalk. Like they're not at this point. I don't believe they're making a change.
Right.
I'm just praying Oklahoma State hires Zac Robinson.
They're going to have him. I'll drive him to the airport.
No, I get it. But we're desperate now, Mike, for that to be a decision that they make, and it takes it off of Raheem's plate because we're worried that that's not a call he's going to make.
No, and the thing about the offense specifically, you need help. Michael Penix Jr., a bunch of Falcon fans that I was talking to between our flights, he looks like he's regressing.
Yeah.
One of our friends, Jackie, and she's a huge – I can't tell you how many folks, and I'll talk about this when we do Guy Talk Day at 4:40. We're like, Mike, I'm with you. I so want to dump my tickets, but I just can't because I'm a loyal Falcon fan, but I'm beyond frustrated. And that's the level of exasperation, because Abe touched on it. There are enough playmakers on both sides of the football. Another weekend, 2 weekends in a row where James Pierce and Jalen Walker emerge.
Yeah.
And they look like, wow, we got something going here. But you don't maximize this talent. And if I'm Raheem Morris and eventually he does get fired, maybe it's at the end of the season, the epitaph on his second run in Atlanta is he hired horrible assistant coaches. Because we saw it with Jimmy Lake, was in over his head, had never been a head coach in the NFL, defensive coordinator, I should say. And you look at Zac Robinson, he'd never been an offensive coordinator. Big difference, Day from quarterbacks coach to OC. Help Michael Penix Jr. Someone's got to tell him, take positive yardage. If there's 4 or 5 yards you can get with your feet, take it.
Take it.
It's
Yes.
the indecision. And Zac Robinson, you're not getting the plays in time. A rookie quarterback doesn't have time to maybe diagnose the line of scrimmage. And that's why I think you're seeing the frustration between the players on the sidelines too. I mean, if I ran this team, Zac Robinson would be fired. You'd bring Zampese in, who's one of your assistant coaches. You'd find a way. You take your quarterbacks coach, who's TJ Yates, right? Am I right?
No, he's pass game coordinator, DJ Williams.
Yeah, DJ Williams. Yeah,
those would be the guys, because right now Zac Robinson couldn't coordinate. Well, I was about to say something I can't say on the air. Day, I don't know, where's Arthur Blank in all this? What is he now, an absentee landlord?
Yeah, I wondered that yesterday. I would love to be a fly on the wall in his suite, or in his private jet flying back yesterday, whatever the case may be, because you got to wonder what his mindset is and what the conversations between him and Terry Fontenot are right now,
Right.
because we really haven't touched on Terry in all of this.
Right.
Because if we're honest, if Arthur Blank's not saying anything, Terry Fontenot should be saying something.
Because Terry's job is, his butts, to your point, is on the line. You're going to get your GM fired. This coach is going to get the GM fired. This GM's done some really good things and some things that haven't worked. Now, Abe, where do you fall on this? Is any general manager in the NFL expected to shoot 50%, or do you expect more than that? Because we hit on the star players like Bijan, Pitts, and that Pitts drop. You want to talk about a groan in the stadium when Pitts dropped that pass. That could have been a touchdown. You're at least set up inside the 10. That's a complete different momentum change. You put more pressure on Daniel Jones, who is trying to give the game away to you. But where do you fall on that? I mean, what kind of job would you give Terry Fontenot now? Because this is 5 years without the playoffs.
Yeah, and the problem here, Mike, and you said 50%. Like, can you hit 50%? The difference is you've had mostly first-round top 10 picks. Like, it's so much more difficult picking 17 or 19 or 24. When you're in the top 10, these are guys that got to be mainstay members of this team. And I'm not saying that the guys aren't, with the exception right now, I guess, arguably, of Kyle Pitts. But, it's tough to sit there and look and say that first-round top 10 pick after first-round top 10 pick, and this is all we can get, especially when – and the quarterback thing's a mess, Mike. I know you've been on top of this, but the decision to pay one guy and then draft another guy, and neither guy is able to elevate the franchise right now, is just a complete disaster. And look, I think we all understand Michael Penix is young, but there are certain things we would have liked to have seen by now that we're not seeing. I'm not saying he'll never be the guy for this franchise. I think this week, though, for the first time, there is a fair contingent of this fan base that has started to wonder about that question. And, and that's a real problem. And it goes back to the coaching, too. No,
I'm sorry to cut you off. That's a great point, Day. Another conversation I was having with some guys coming back from Germany is, I said Michael Penix was terrible. And some of the guys kind of rolled their eyes. And then you get into, hey, man, that's my quarterback. Well, let's hold on now, because all of a sudden the sample size gets bigger and bigger. And he's no longer a rookie. I mean, I say rookie quarterback, but 1, 2, 3, 4, all these games are starting to stack up in his career. Yeah. And so you look at what he's been able to accomplish. He made a tremendous throw, that laser against the Commanders a year ago on Monday night. To a lot of fans, he looks like he's regressed. So there's only so much of the responsibility you can stop at the line with Zac Robinson. Look, at the end, he's got to go out and execute those plays. But Penix Jr. throwing at people's feet. Mooney, and by the way, Mooney's worthless this season. Darnell Mooney, I said to Carl, I didn't know who he was when we signed him. He gave us 1 year, and now I'm validated because he's a bum. Darnell Mooney is a bum. Our wide receivers not named Drake London are yet next to useless. So there are other intangibles there, but at least in their defense, Penix has got to put it somewhere near a catch radius. They can't catch a ball that hits 2 feet below their feet, you know? And how about some of those throws? I don't know how it looked on TV back here in Atlanta. Some of those throws, I couldn't understand where they were even going from a guy who is so hyper accurate from his playing days in Washington. Either one of you guys want to talk about where's Penix at?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that has really bothered people, and you probably would have been packing up and heading out of Berlin, I'm sure you've caught wind of it now, though, is the emotion in the interview with Dave Archer. And it just looked completely
sounded
removed.
like he's heartbroken.
He looked defeated. He looked really emotionally defeated.
Right.
And there's some concerns that's dragging into his play, and what is his mindset at? And the whole it's a mess, Mike. The whole thing is a mess. And for anyone who wants to point to Penix's play, or just point to Zac Robinson, or just point to Raheem, or just point to the wide receiver, like, there's no one thing to point to. It all is a mess.
Well,
and it doesn't feel like there's a quick fix.
And in the stadium, Day-Day, I mean, it felt almost like Michael Penix Jr. felt like Charlie Brown. And I did see the video you're talking about with Arch. He looked disconsolate. In the game, you had the announcers be like, it's intentional grounding, Michael Penix. And then you had Joe Thomas, was the former Brown, the Pro Bowler, was kind of doing some in-game stuff. So they'd be in a TV timeout or in a commercial break. And so you'd hear it booming through the stadium. Michael Penix Jr.'s got to make better decisions. He's not helping his team. So if you're Penix, you got the weight of your world on your shoulders, Day-Day. We'll talk more about it today. Hey, man, today on Dukes of Bell, we mentioned Dave Archer. What time is Dave going to be on, Day-Day?
Dave will be with us at 3:20.
And we're going to talk Georgia Bulldogs. I thought that real quick, their most complete defensive effort against Miss State on the road in Stark Vegas in front of the Cowbells to get up 38-0 and control things. I thought that was great. We'll talk to Connor Riley. He'll join us at 4 o'clock. And we'll get more of your phone calls. I'm sure there were a lot of hot Falcon fans yesterday. 404-726-0929. So I'll give you some of the sights and sounds, because met some Falcon fans in Prague as well. And we had a great time. Also, what if I told you there was a giant traffic jam on the Autobahn, and Waze had me taking Take Me Home country roads to the place I was born, Czech Republic, Mountain Mama. What did I tell you about getting lost on some country roads? You wouldn't believe, man. It's all coming up today at 2 to 6 on 92.9 The Game. Abe, Day-Day, I'm Mike. We'll see you there, guys. Thanks for watching.